Hello there, good evening, and welcome to a new bar. This channel on your YouTube is our channel, I must say. It's been years of political turmoil in Libya with no clear sign of an amicable solution to the situation. In December 2021, an election was supposed to have been held, but internal wrangling in the various camps, among other factors, did not permit the election to come off. Then, January 24, 2022, an election was earmarked, but that too did not see the light of day. As it stands, Libya's election has been postponed indefinitely. So, will Libyans ever go to the polls? And if they do, will the election, unite the country? My name is Solomon Mensah. I'm your host. And guest, we have Solomon Annan, journalist, and also Justice Kumordzi, who is the program director with iWatch Africa. Guys, good evening. This is our show.
Good evening, Solomon.
Right. It's nice to see you once again. Another Sunday here.
Yeah. Nice to have you.
Right. Let me start with you, Justice, in the middle. Run us through Libya. What has been happening there since Gaddafi was toppled?
Thank you, Solomon, and good evening to your cherished viewers. Um, the situation in Libya is very sad. I can say the list. Since 2011, following the Arab Spring, that led to the toppling and killing of long-standing President Muammar Gaddafi. The country has been in chaos till today. Currently, the country is divided into two parallel governments. One controlled by the West. We have interim Prime Minister Abdulhamid Dibeiba, who is leading Western efforts, who is leading the process backed by the UN process to bring semblance of stability and also conduct elections in the near future. On the east, you have General Khalifa Haftar, who is controlling the Libyan National Army and has been waging war on Tripoli to take control, as you may have it. And these two factions, they have their own parliament, they have their own system of government, they are running side by side. But then, UN, through diplomatic means and other international community, brought them together through so many channels of communication, Libya, Moscow, Germany, brought these warring factions to the table to sort of bring a timeline towards democratic rule, where, as you have it, 24th December last year was supposed to be an election year so that the country will move back towards democracy. Indeed, the citizens were ready. As at December, over 2.8 million citizens had registered for their voters' ID and all that, eagerly anticipating the December 24th election. And that December 24th is also a very significant date. You know that Libya gained independence in 1951, December 24th, so it was a very historic date. But so many factors which we will come to accounts for the reason why, even till today, there hasn't been elections, and elections have been postponed indefinitely. One of these key reasons is the legal regime. You know, even in Ghana and everywhere, elections are run on legislative instruments. There has to be a legal framework for elections to take place. But when we have a country divided by two factions, they have weak institutions, they have weak legal regimes. They cannot agree on who contests, who can be voted for, and who can be excluded, and based on what. So, Solomon, there are so many reasons why we are here, and I'm sure we will get into those chief reasons as the show progresses.
Right. That's fine. And Solomon Annan, I remember I wrote and my co wrote an article with you on Libya. Then we asked the AU whether they were able to stand the world pressure. I mean, the international powers. Libya, their war is a prosy one. There are a lot of international bodies or countries fighting in Libya. So we wrote that article. From 2020 up to now that we wrote that article, what has been your assessment of the country so far?
Thank you, Solomon. Thank you, Solo. Let me say, Libya qualifies as a failed state. Honestly, if you want to talk about a state should have a territory that it controls, have control over. As we speak, Libya doesn't have a unified army. So since we wrote the article till now, every effort that is being done in Libya to bring about peace has been championed by the UN. And the AU have seemed to be at the backstage. I don't know whether they are working at the backstage, giving the UN, which is a bigger international body, since it is an international war in Africa, to take the lead. But if I want to describe Libya as a state compared to states in Africa, I would say Libya is a failed state. Haftar has its army. The West has its army, and then the East. So you see, you can't have this divided fashion, militias everywhere, mercenaries from in Libya, whilst we sit here not doing anything. So I only say that Libya is just qualified as a failed state as we speak at the moment.
Okay, okay. And Justice, would
Yeah.
you
So can you
say
hear me?
AU? Yes, we
So
can
can you
we
hear me?
can hear you. If yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
Solomon.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that was my comment. That was my initial
Okay,
comment.
okay, sure. So Justice, has AU
Yes.
as a continental body, has AU failed Libya?
Yes, it has. I mean, even before Gaddafi was overthrown, we were expecting the AU to stop NATO from leading, this Arab Spring to overthrow Gaddafi. We are all aware the efforts Gaddafi was putting in to unify Africa. We are aware the resources he has put in to put Africa on a strategic flow to be able to conduct affairs on its own, maximize its own resources and all that. The AU could have done better. The AU still has a chance to do better. But now you see the warring factions being supported by Western powers. You have Russia and France backing the East, controlled by General Khalifa Haftar, whilst you have Turkey and other states also backing the UN-led government of national unity being run by uh, Prime Minister Abdulhamid Dibeiba. So you ask the question rightly, where is AU in all of this? Nowhere to be found. So as a mother organization, and you have a country with rich resources being left alone at the mercy of mercenaries, as Solomon put it, the AU has failed in that regard.
Interesting. And Solomon Annan, you've done, I mean, a lot of work on silencing the guns. And now, I mean, Justice is clearly saying that AU has failed Libya, and AU came out with that policy that they are going to silence the guns on the continent. Um, how do you? I don't know. I don't know. How do you juxtapose AU's policy on silencing the guns and then the situation in Libya?
I think the first test for the AU when it came out with this policy in 2013 was to work tirelessly around the clock to make sure that Libya's turmoil has been reduced to the barest minimum. Because in 2013, whilst they were in Ethiopia, coming out with this policy to silence the gun, Libya was still in turmoil. So immediately you finish that AU assembly meeting or whatever, making that declaration, I thought Libya should be the first point of call to make sure that everything going on in Libya has been settled. But even in 2019, Haftar and his army came out, meted out another offensive to take Tripoli. Where was AU in all of this? Silencing the gun must not be on the paper. I'm thinking that because the likelihood to have conflict at every point in time is high. But if you have a conflict in your room and you have water to quench it and you refuse to do so, and you are waiting for another conflict to come to say that, oh, I have more water, I'll go and quench that fire. It's a little bit something. It's a paradox for me. So I think, to be very honest, in Libya, the AU has not shown leadership. Let me mind my words, but the AU has not shown leadership in Libya. If I may be point blank, that is point blank. They have never silenced the gun in Libya.
I see. But do you really, sincerely, do you think that AU has the capacity to stop the wrangling in Libya? Has the AU the capacity?
Why not? Why not? Is the issue about money? What is the AU looking for? It's about getting mediators, getting people who will sit on the negotiating table. You know, what is happening in Africa is that maybe AU have not demonstrated that faithfulness, that honesty for the warring faction to see that if somebody comes from Africa, the person is capable of, how do you call it? The person is capable of making sure that the war in Libya is reduced. You have to get a trusted mediator. And the AU has the chance. The AU has all the power to do so. If you cannot do that in Libya, what else can you do? So AU has the power. If they have the political will, the will to do so, they can easily do that.
Exactly, because if you monitor the news, there has been peace talks in Germany, in Russia, Rome, and you ask yourself, why was there no peace talk in, say, Johannesburg or Accra or Dakar? I mean, what is the AU doing to resolve the conflict in Libya? So I agree with Salman, and the AU has failed Libya.
And now that the country is struggling to even hold elections because of internal wrangling, do you think, Justice, that this election will ever come off?
I think instead of holding an election, they should think about achieving some milestones, for example, making sure the legal regime is put in place, making sure institutions responsible for organizing election and adjudicating electoral disputes are strengthened, making sure the eligibility criteria is set out well, making sure there's a standby, force to be able to enforce the rules of engagement. Because it's one thing to set out the rules, it's another thing to enforce it and to even adjudicate. And if you have weak institutions, the elections may even plunge the country to further chaos. What is supposed to bring peace may even bring further division.
I see.
So, I mean, they should take it easy, take it step by step, ensure that the legal frameworks are strengthened, achieve small milestones before even getting to the elections. I see that they are looking at June 2022. Well, it gives them some time to put things in place because the factions you have, you know, these three leading candidates, Gaddafi's son, Al Saif, um, you have Khalifa, and you have Dibeba. These are all controversial figures. Gaddafi's son is being wanted for war crimes at the ICC, and so is General Khalifa. And Dibeba promised not to contest, but to lead in the reforming of the country to bring elections or democracy back. And he's using, incumbent advantage to, contest for election, and even putting in some popular policies to, win trust of the people. So, I mean, if one of them wins and the other doesn't agree, what can you do about it? Do we have strong legal framework to be able to deal with this? So, in my opinion, they shouldn't look at the elections, as a must at this moment. They should do, the background work first before, the election proper.
Okay, so Justice, this is to you. Would you, I mean, on the back of that, would you suggest they hold something like reconciliation commission to ensure that the warring parties agree? Should they sit them down? And who is even going to sit them down? Is it the UN?
That's the issue. The UN is trying. Um, that's what I said. The election should be put on hold for now. Let's heal the country. Let's bring people together. And even those who are contesting, they are not, in my opinion, capable of bringing the country together. We need a strong leader, somebody who is a unifier, somebody who can rally the whole of Libya together. And these people have entrenched positions. When you come to power, are you going to prosecute me for the crimes of yesterday? No, these are all issues.
Exactly.
So, I mean, they need, reconciliation is a step in the right direction. They need to heal, and I think they need a fresh face to bring, these divisions together and mount forward because there's potential in Libya. They have the largest oil reserves in Africa, and you want them to be in control of their own resources instead of mercenaries moving around Libya, not because of anything, but because of their own national interest. The oil reserves. Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this offside question, if I should say. Nkrumah was made president. I mean, a co-president in the Gambia when he was toppled in Ghana. Would you suggest in Libya that, owing to the deep cracks in the country, they, for the meantime, have a constitution and allow an independent African to head them for some time? Hello, Zolo, did you hear me? Hello? Hello, Zolo, did you hear me? Okay. So, Justice, I think he is not hearing me, so he can take up that question. Should Libya have a constitution?
So
And
please, can
Solo,
you
can
take
you
the
hear?
question again?
Okay,
If
can
you
you hear
can
me
hear me,
now?
please take the question again.
Okay, I can hear you.
Yes, please. Please take your question again.
All right. So I'm asking that Nkrumah, our own Nkrumah, Ghana's Nkrumah,
Yeah, I can hear
after he was
you,
toppled, he
but
was
I want you
made.
to repeat the question.
Yes, I'm repeating it.
Yes, I can hear you, but kindly repeat your question.
Right. So what I'm saying is that Nkrumah, after he was toppled in Ghana, was made a co-president
I
of the
can hear you,
Gambia.
but I want you to repeat your question.
Right. I think Solo's feed is giving us issues. It's delaying. Yeah. Right. So I think he'll come back on. So Justice, you heard the question, right? Should Libyans
Yes.
amend have a constitution and get it to state that for the meantime, because of the deep cracks within the system, let's allow an independent African, to rule us for maybe 4 years, so that this person tries to unite the country. Is it possible? Would you suggest that?
I don't think it will be possible because even the warring factions or the fragmentation of power as we have it, these are Libyans and they are not able to unite their own people. How much more a foreigner? So it will be a difficult thing. I think what should happen now is the continuous US-backed peace process, a ceasefire, more of a power sharing agreement between these warring factions to ensure that Libya is stable in terms of the conflict, to ensure that they can reopen the oil reserve that has been blocked due to conflict, so that they can do business and run the economy. But bringing in a foreigner to come and rule the country, it will be difficult because, mind you, you have extremist groups like ISIS lurking around to take control. So you need Libyans to fight their own battles, and they themselves will get themselves out of this hole. But then the West has to take responsibility because the Arab Spring wasn't only Libyans; it was backed by NATO to overthrow Gaddafi. So as the country is plunged to chaos because of power vacuum, they have a responsibility to ensure that stability is brought back to Libya. But bringing in an African to take over Libya, I don't think it will be possible.
Okay. Solo, you are back now. Can you hear us? I think his feed is still down. Right. So Justice, you said that, because the toppling of Gaddafi, NATO was involved and all that, the international community should also help in resolving the current issues in Libya, the power vacuum and all that. Is that what UN is trying to achieve? Or you think America proper?
Exactly what they are trying to do, but they can do more.
Okay.
They can do more by ensuring that these foreign mercenaries are kicked out of the country, because it's being alleged that they supply weapons to the rebels or the military men on the other side of the divide. The motives of these foreign external influences fueling the conflict has to be dealt with. I mean, you want to know their real motives in Libya. For example, you have rich oil companies, multinational companies, like Total from France, Eni Energy from Italy. You have
Yeah.
Staffnet from Russia, and these are all major players in that enclave. And their purpose or their motive is one and one only: Libya's oil reserves. So I mean, you want to know if there is a positive relation between the conflict brewing and external players being interested because of Libyan oil. You want to find out if they benefit from the conflict in any way. I mean, if there is no strong legal regime in the system, how are we sure that the contracts that goes on with this oil extraction or exploration are to the benefits of the Libyan people, or even, I mean, it leaves room for speculation. So the international community must do whatever it takes to ensure that a civilian government is in place to control all these resources to the benefit of the Libyan people.
Okay. Solo, can you hear us now? Okay. He still can't hear us. Justice, you made an important point. Bringing in the Total, the Eni, and all the international fuel companies. do you think Libyans themselves know what they have? Because these international bodies, they are in Libya for something. Do you think Libyans themselves know what they have? And if so, why are they not why are they not coming together to protect such? I mean, what they have?
I can hear you.
You can hear us now.
I can hear
Oh,
you.
okay. Okay, so you can respond to this question. Interesting. The network is very bad.
Yeah.
Just yeah, kindly take the question. So I'm asking. I don't know whether you heard the question.
Yes, you're asking me if Libyans know what they have and
Yeah,
the real motives of these
yeah,
external players in
yeah,
in the conflict.
yeah,
And basically, the country is divided into two. They have their supporters for both sides, and they are being flawed by money coming from somewhere because the army is still being paid from the Libyan coffers, so from the Bank of Libya or their central bank. Their central banks also they have a mechanism where they sell their fuel, but then you don't have the fuel reserves in only the east or the west. It's in both, so they are in control of separate, you know, governments because of the parallel nature of the system, where you have the government of the east and the government of the west. You don't have a centralized authority to even manage it efficiently. So it leaves room for so many things to happen. It leaves room for negotiations behind closed doors and all that. I support you, so you support the rebels or maybe the militia of the east in exchange for what? You know, what does Turkey get in supporting, the central government or the government of Tripoli? And what
yeah,
does Russia get backing Al Khalifa's military men? So these are, situations that call for speculations. You wouldn't know what's going on, but you want to know that no state has friends. They all have interests. So what is Russia? What is Turkey's? What is France, Italy, UAE's interest or Qatar interest in this conflict? One would say they want to stop extremism. Maybe Italy will say that when there's deepened conflict, the nearest country people will go to is to cross the Mediterranean to Italy. So they want to stop migration. But is that all? What about any energy?
yeah,
What's the role there? You know, it's also a case that you depend on Libyan oil because they have this sweet light food for kerosene and gas. So it leaves room for speculation. So I mean, I wouldn't know all the facts. So I wouldn't want to
yeah.
make any allegations, but it leaves room for speculation. I want to know what their interest is.
Okay, okay. Solo, you are smiling. You can hear us now. You can hear us now, right?
Yes, I can hear.
Interesting.
I've been hearing all this while, but perhaps my network. Before I come to the question you asked earlier, let me quickly comment about some question you asked Justice. Remember, I don't think that the solution to Libya's crisis is an immediate election. Justice have addressed the issue very well, and he did this impeccably. So after this show, you have to find something for Justice for me. He did so well. It cannot be an election. Yes.
I will,
Remember,
I will take him out to uncover.
okay. Remember, when you rush to have an election now, good. When you rush to have an election now in Libya, the possibility of having another coup d'etat in Africa is very high. And I can tell you that all the coup d'etats we had in Africa in recent times has been diplomatic coup d'etats. And if it's supposed to happen in Libya, because you rush to have an election, it will never be a diplomatic coup d'etat. It will be a bloody one. Okay, in recent years, what we had in Guinea, Burkina Faso, Mali, it has not
Oh,
been
Solomon.
as bloody as coup d'etats have been, right? But because Libya has witnessed so much division, if you try to have an election without
Oh, he's
resolving the internal wrangling, because the East has its army, the West has its army.
it's very unfortunate. Solomon's line
Can you
is.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You're making an important point. Yeah.
Can
So
you hear
basically, you're
me?
saying, yeah, we can hear you. Basically, you're saying that Libya shouldn't go to the post now until they resolve their issues because they could be coup d'etat if election is rushed.
Can you hear me?
Right. I mean, this is Africa. This is Africa. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad on the continent, you know. Within Accra, but you get network. I mean, very poor network.
Instability.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but I mean, what can you do? Yeah.
But he was making an important point.
Yes, yeah, he was making a very important point. I hope he comes back before we wrap up the show. He was making an important point. Mm. So, Justice, going forward,
Yeah.
do you think Libya has a future?
Yes, I think so. Judging by what the UN put out regarding the number of registered voters, 2.8 million, it tells you that the people of Libya want to go back to their normal lives. They want to restore democracy. They want to restore confidence in the system. They want to pick the pieces together and move on as a nation. They want to control their resources. They want to win their country back. Patriotic citizens. They are ready. The issue is, are the leaders ready? So, like I said, these legislative barriers or legal regime, institutional weaknesses should be taken care of first. When they do that, then they are really on the path towards recovery because there is clear appetite for democracy as far as Libyan citizens are concerned. And two, the foreign mercenaries. The foreign mercenaries has to be dealt with. They have to take care of that. They have to, leave Libya and allow Libya to solve their problems themselves. The UN and the international community to continue to lead the process. I hope African Union also, or let's say maybe the UN is an umbrella encompassing the African Union. So I wouldn't want to say maybe the African Union is not in there, but I'm thinking they should be in there to lead the efforts towards, restoring constitutional rule in Libya. So Libya has a future, but it has to, take it a step at a time.
Okay. Okay. Before we wrap up, you mentioned that the mercenaries should be taken out of Libya, but they are there either on the back of the East or the West. I mean, covertly. So, and now they don't have a government that speaks totally for the whole nation. So, who is going to tell them that, hey, you all leave, let's settle our matters. After that, maybe we can invite you back. I keep asking this question: Is it the UN, and is UN doing enough, or it's
Uh,
about time? It's about time that Justice, you at iWatch Africa, you write to AU that AU should mediate this conflict by force.
I was thinking the AU would play a leading role. Perhaps they are playing a backstage role. But UN leading the efforts is not a bad idea. The challenge is if UN is leading, the effort to bring legitimacy and has sworn in an interim prime minister in the shape of Abdulhamid Dibeiba. You're also aware that the East also sworn in a new prime minister, saying that Dibeiba's time has elapsed. So Bashaga should take over, and there's this power wrangle. And you have Russia and France on the other side, and you have Turkey representing maybe the US or so on the other side. I mean, what is going on? Because if you have UN security members in the shape of France and Russia backing, the eastern side of Libya being controlled by General Khalifa Haftar, who was trained in the US. I mean, it's worrying what's going on. You wouldn't know exactly what is going on, but it leaves room for so much speculation. I mean, this man was trained in the US. He was in exile during the Gaddafi regime, trained in the US, and came back and led the revolution that overthrew Gaddafi. He has deep connections, so you wonder, can there ever be, peace? And he's been wanted or cited for war crimes by the ICC, who extradite him there. Can he be arrested and all that?
What if he wins? I mean,
he becomes president.
Yes.
So he has every chance to become president. He has every chance. These are the reasons why they can't even agree on the legislative instruments or the legal frameworks to deal with the election, because you have issues of eligibility. And electoral disputes. How are you going to solve them? I mean, if they boycott the elections or they disagree with the outcome of the election, and you don't have a competent army to guard this election, and you have electoral malpractice in the east or west, how do you ensure a free and fair elections when you have the country being controlled by two forces? What's the guarantee that the elections in the east will not be rigged and that of the west will not be rigged? I mean, who will declare who as president?
Yeah.
And this is only presidential. Now you go to the parliamentary too. So they should take care of themselves and do their homeworks before going back to the polls.
Okay. Thank you so much, Justice. I think we have to wrap it up here. It's been nice talking to you, and grateful as usual for joining us. We're also grateful to Solomon Annan, who made interesting submissions, but unfortunately his network was trickling, so he had to go. Hopefully by next week Sunday this time, we will have a good connection, and then the show continues. I'm grateful, Justice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having me so much.
Sure. Right. So for our viewers, if today is your first time coming on this channel, kindly do subscribe to the channel so that you get notified of our future uploads. My name is Solomon Mensah. Good evening.